Five times!
Welcome to Flashpoint YouTube. It is I, Jim Connors, or also known as Austin O'Connor, here to talk about things from the UWF, and also we're going to be starting the EWF as well. And now, before we continue on that, let me introduce the rest of the cast here. About our special guest.
I am Owen Devine, also known as Michael.
And you guys know me, I'm Tom, a.k.a. Scorpion the Assassin.
Alrighty, gentlemen, now that everyone knows who we are at this table here, let's go ahead and start talking about you, Mikey.
Oh, God.
So the Devine one on the spot.
Right? Yep, I'm throwing it right here and right now. So, first thing I would like to talk about is, how did you get into wrestling? You know, what gave you the, what got you interested?
Oh, God. My friend growing up was really into wrestling. And so then it was a lot of, my mother didn't want me watching wrestling. So, because she was too worried to be violent. So it was, I'd start watching wrestling with him. And then it was I still remember I was oh, God, 10 or 11. And my family had gone to the fair. And I wasn't allowed to go to the fair because I had stayed up with my friend the night before watching wrestling. So I had to stay at my friend's house that day while my family went out to the fair because I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling. But I know that the first episode of Raw that I saw was with my dad was actually the episode where Jericho peed into William Regal's teeth. So that was my first Raw. So, but it was always, I don't know, wrestling has always just been very interesting to me. The drama, the insanity, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah. Really.
Never really knowing what was going to happen. It was always, you'd have something going on, but there was always something in the background that you were, and then in a couple months, that whole thing was the next big storyline. And then you forgot about Jericho peeing in William Regal's teeth until the highlights 5 years later, right?
Yeah.
So it was that was really what it was. It was a lot of it was one of my best friends growing up and got me into wrestling. It was, and then watching it with my dad.
Yeah.
So at what point did your mom be like, okay, maybe you can watch a little?
Oh, God, I think it was after the whole watching Raw with my dad, and she's like, all right, well, I guess I'm not fighting this. So it's just going to happen kind of thing. It's just all right, whatever, it's going to happen. And then it was all right, well, you can watch wrestling, but, don't do it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
exactly. It all starts from that. Don't watch it, then you can watch it. Don't do it.
And it's okay, all right, if you say so.
See, for me, it was slightly different because my grandmother's husband worked for wrestling, and one of my other relatives actually started with Stu Hart, and then slowly started merging on over to Vince's dad and everything, and so wrestling has always been there, and I remember my grandmother sitting on the couch and, crocheting her 1 millionth blanket, and everything. And she'd be just sitting there telling stories about, there was one of my aunt who had a fascination with Andre the Giant because he was big. Mm-hmm. And she was just well, if he's tall, he should be tall, kind of deal. And she hated Bobby. She hated Bobby Heenan with a passion. And I guess at one show, because you kind of know somebody there, they give you, special backstage passes and stuff like that. And that's the way it was. And it was at a show. It was a local show. Andre and Bobby were here, and she had her purse. And it was, we ended up finding out that it was all set up afterwards, kind of deal. What wasn't a setup was Bobby actually getting hit. So she hated Bobby with a passion, and they were walking back after a match, and sometimes the manager would be on the left, and sometimes on the right when they're walking back, depending on really what they need to do. And this time, for a reason, they got halfway and they swapped places. and my aunt flipped because she wanted to touch Andre. And she got so mad that she swung her purse.
Oh my God.
And not only did she wind up hitting Bobby, but at the same time, like, she hit Andre. So Andre got mad. And like started and went over the rail, which was like taking a step from him. Went over the rail and like chased her in the back. And like security was there and everything. And then my one grandfather was there to kind of make sure nothing happened to her, and because like people knew who she was and who the family was and everything, but not everybody. So then my grandmother told me about how she like ran through the curtain, and Strongbow was there, and then there was a few other greats that were there, and then like they kind of blocked her, they held her from going anywhere, and then next thing she knows, she kind of bumped back, and right there was Andre, and Andre picked her right up like she was nothing, and stuff, and I was just like, oh, that's so cool, I want that to happen to me, yeah, that'd be awesome, and then little by little, I had the whole speaking, like I was able to watch it and everything, but I was always told, do not do this at home. These are trained professionals and everything else, they know what they're doing. And I remember my mom was working, my dad was working, and my grandmother was watching us. And it was me and my sister. My aunt and my cousins came on over. So then we decided to go in the garage, and we took 5-gallon buckets. We took 4 of them. And so they were our ring posts. Our ropes was our imagination, So, that always...
always goes out well.
Goes really well, and then it went from getting busted the very first time to my parents allowing it, and then like secretly taping it, so my cousins and I would be all in the yard like beating each other up and stuff like that, and like my parents would like record it every once in a while, and then they used it against us. So then, like, we would have family over for little get-togethers, and they would say, "Hey, check out what these little idiots are doing."
It's like pulling up baby picture.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
So, like, in that moment, you're thinking that, oh yeah, this is really cool. I'm awesome, and this and that, because we had the boombox. I don't know if you ever did it, but we had the boombox that we recorded off the TV. So then you had the entrance music with the crowd playing in the background.
Oh no, see, we burned CDs.
Okay, yeah.
We burned CDs. There was like a new CD for every show, and we were recording shows off of like camcorders. Like, oh my God, yeah.
It was definitely a very interesting time of growing up and stuff. But your knowledge in wrestling really took off. Like,
I think it was because a lot of Owen comes from like Ric Flair and Bret Hart, and there's CM Punk in there too. It's a lot of the smaller guys who, for all intents and purposes, probably shouldn't have been as good as they were. Like, you look at them and you don't expect them to be a world champion. Right. You don't expect them to be these bigger people. So I always looked at it as, you didn't have to be the biggest, you didn't have to be the best, you didn't have to be, to be the best. Mm-hmm. You didn't have to, have this elaborate style or this elaborate, it was all ring psychology. It was all, knowledge of wrestling and knowing what other people had done that worked. Mm-hmm. So it was, if you find these smaller guys who were able to work against these bigger guys on a consistent basis,
right.
It was definitely, that's where I saw it wasn't just, oh, you needed to be Andre, you needed to be Big Show, you needed to be The Undertaker. You could get away with being, Bret or Rick, these guys who were smaller but could go against them, mm-hmm. because they had that in-ring IQ. And so that's where a lot of what I did, I started working a lot on in-ring IQ and ring psychology, and that's what I started focusing a lot on, was just the way that you do it, the way you go in there, and the way that we do our craft, where mm-hmm. it's not just oh, let me be the biggest, let me go do the biggest shock and awe thing, and right. I'll be a star.
Yeah,
it's no, you got to be consistent. You got to be able to consistently perform against no matter who you're in there with.
Right. And you came in fairly late in the game, and when like all of us started to meet and everything like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's because I wasn't even interested in this stuff first. Like,
Yeah.
I thought, like honestly, before I actually got into wrestling, I thought this was like just grown men in like tights beating each other up. Like it wasn't really.
kind of what it was.
Yeah. Like and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't see the point of this. But then again, you talk to a guy who's like, I see Yu-Gi-Oh as we could fight in card games. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think that what a lot of it is people have this preconception with wrestling because it's what you see. You see a bunch of grown men in tights,
Mm-hmm.
and so you look at it and you're like, oh well, that's stupid. But then as you get into it, you realize there's a lot more to it than just going out there in a pair of tights and throwing each other around.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not just put on a pair of tights and go. It's put on a pair of tights and you got to learn this and learn that, and you got to do this and you can't do this, and it, like I said, that psychology, that whole knowledge of wrestling, that whole idea that going in there and just doing the biggest thing you can to get the biggest reaction you can isn't always the best way to go about it.
Right.
It turns into the more you look at it, the bigger it becomes. And I think that's what really kind of draws me to it, especially, is it's not just an end. There's so much you can do with wrestling.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of like a real life anime in a way. You can almost make any kind of storyline and make it make sense in a way.
I was thinking about that. It's like a real life anime, or it's like it's in a lot of sense it's like LARPing.
That too,
It
yeah.
really is.
Yeah,
like
that too.
you create this character, this persona, this thing that you go out there and you're just like, nope, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just do it the best you can. And you hope that you pick something people are going to react to.
And usually it could like build you too. You
Yeah.
know? Like I know like before I got into this, I was like, I was like the guy who stays in the room, never goes outside. I don't talk to anyone. Until I got into this, and like it really builds you up as a person too.
Yeah,
like it
because
changes you.
It definitely does. You have people pull you out of your comfort zone, and then you meet people, and then you build friendships over the years, and it's like it really is like one of it because it's so big, and it's not just one company.
Right.
Like wrestling's not just stuck in one thing.
Right.
It's there's this company and that company and these people and those people, and it's everywhere. And then you look at wrestling. The American style of wrestling is different than the Mexican style, and the Japanese style, and the British style, and so there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And you can never. It's a craft that you can get so good at, but you can never master.
Right.
And it's just one of those things that you can always keep working for.
Right.
So it just always keeps pushing you to just be that little bit better.
Right. I always found that with Austin doing all of his D&D and stuff like that, like when it comes down to like creating storylines and stuff like that, like he has on the fly. When it comes to like the wrestling point, he has a little bit of trouble and this and that, whatever. But some of the most dangerous things about Austin is to where the danger level is like you and I, because you and I, we can be put in, like how many times have we ran into situations where somebody got injured or somebody didn't show and we had to create a match on the spot, or somebody did something that they weren't supposed to and the ending shit this, we got to think of something real fast, like it was on the spot, like we had that ability.
About to start and we're like, wait, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, right.
Like,
So we were able to nail
this.
it really quick. Austin is the kind to where we can sit there and we can like, all right, we need something extra kind of real, and then somebody makes a comment, which happened with NUW. It was just like, hey, Austin got hurt. What are we gonna do? I don't know. He got bopped in the head so hard he's a goose, and then all of a sudden,
I just did.
It turned
that
into
was
that.
It turned into
That's
that.
what it was, and it was just like, oh no, that's what we're going with. It's like, oh, all right, let's do it.
Yeah,
Like,
and then came out the whole buddy creating
Oh my god,
Buddy.
I love Buddy.
Buddy was legitimately just supposed to be kind of just, whatever, kind of
Buddy
reveal.
was,
Yeah.
oh god, we pulled Buddy out because we just didn't have anybody.
We didn't have any.
We didn't have enough
We were
people.
like, oh, we have like 3 matches. We should probably do another one. And then Austin's like, oh, well, I'll just do this guy. We're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like, I got the outfit. I'll just do it,
and then there's boom, bam, boom, and then like Buddy just took a whole life of its own. And then Austin is so dangerous because you can throw out those ideas, and next thing you know,
I will make it.
He will make it. He clears his schedule and everything. He's like, all right, I gotta buy this outfit, I gotta buy this, and this is how he's gonna talk, and this is how.
But see, that's the thing. You take a character that's meant to be pulled in for like a week to
And then-
fill in a spot,
Yeah.
and
then-
now
and then
boom,
you
he
turn it
pops up
into-
every year. People are partying,
Yeah.
and it's like you're so good at making those characters that people react to, and that's what's really important. Is you have it with with Scorpion. Scorpion comes out and everyone's like, yes! And, like Owen Devine comes out and people are like, oh god, this guy. Like,
Yeah, like that. Like that's so long.
you gotta have something that people are drawn to, or else
Right.
it just you're fighting an uphill battle all the
Right.
time. And it's just not worth it. But you're right, that's where he's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, yeah, I got this. And it's like, oh god, what have we done? Like
Yeah. Like once it turned into, after Buddy, that was Norman afterwards. It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
Norman's
it
another
was
one who we
literally
pulled
one right after the
out
other.
for like a show, and then we're like, oh, we'll use him for the next one.
Yeah,
3 years later,
Yeah,
4 retirement matches later.
yeah, pretty much. Like Norman, like I remember the first match he was in was with Waya when John
Yeah.
was coming in.
Waya.
Yes.
It was both a first time we both got introduced.
That was I think for one of our videos, one of the first like UWF ones that we did, like a build up for it's finally coming and everything. I kept the shot because it was such a clean shot of Waya pounding away on Norman, and then Norman's just taking it, and then all of a sudden you just see this stiff shot, bang, and then Wyatt was just like, bang, bang, boom, bang.
Yeah, because like he got me once good, and I was like, all right, hold up, and I was like, slow it down, boom, okay, slow it down, and I was like, all right.
It was such a clean shot. I was just like, I am keeping that.
Yeah,
That is staying forever. Like that was such a connect right there. I was like, oh my god, I was so devastated.
like.
Oh my lord.
Like it's weird because like when I'm like Buddy or Jim, I don't get like that. When I'm in Norman's mask and I actually get fucking hit, I do come back with
You
it.
put on
Jim,
the mask,
Albert,
you become
that's it.
Norman.
Yeah, like
that's
I limit
it.
like if I get punched as Jim or Buddy, I limit my I limit every time I touch you.
Right.
Okay. But when I'm Norman, it's weird. It's like everything, just all my pent up rage and aggression just comes through.
How many times he flip people off, even his own mother? She
Right.
was just like,
Yeah.
and then like afterwards, like, Mom, I'm so
Not even that. Like I poked at everyone I could in the crowd that I could
oh
try.
my god, we had
Try
so
and
much
mess
fun with Norman though.
Yeah.
We had so much fun with Norman, and it's because we were able to keep pulling Norman out for the most random things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You want to know someone else we had that they got thrown in a lot too? You remember the Dirty Sanchez one?
Oh god, Dirty Sanchez. See, Dirty Sanchez started before EWF.
Okay, all right, cool. So
all
give
right.
us some backstory.
Yeah, give us some
Give
stuff
us-
on this. 'cause
give
this
us
is
some
new.
backstory.
This is new to us too. I thought Sanchez was from EWF.
No,
all right,
Sanchez.
bring it back.
Sanchez started
Flashpoint time.
in so before EWF it was TWA, which was 2 different things. It was Trampoline Wrestling Alliance, and then it was the Total Wrestling Alliance.
Okay.
And originally he was played by Matt Bradley.
Okay.
All right.
So originally Matt had Matt Bradley, Jose Cuervo, and Dirty Sanchez. And so Jose Cuervo was always drunk, and Dirty Sanchez was just Dirty Sanchez. I don't even think he had a mask in the beginning either.
Wow.
It was just Matt, because we just didn't care. We're just like, all right, whatever, it's a character.
Right.
Nobody's going to know, right?
Right.
And so it's completely different than that. But so then he was like, oh, well, I'm done doing Dirty Sanchez. And then we threw Eric under the mask because we needed someone.
Yeah.
And that was when we were in TWF, and that was me, that was Nelson, that was so many people. We had Chris J, who was a good friend of mine, Marissa Purcell, actually. She was our first female world champion. She was impressive. She was always entertaining. We had Ben. We had, God, so many people. And so we brought Dirty Sanchez back because we needed somebody else to go. So we had other matches.
You had a jobber pretty much, right?
Yeah, so that was Eric's first introduction into wrestling. And so he was Dirty Sanchez for a bit. And then we retired Dirty Sanchez again. and then he came back as Eric Epstein. And then he came back as Eric Richards and Dirty Sanchez because we needed Dirty Sanchez again.
Mm-hmm. See, always reliable Dirty Sanchez.
And always reliable Dirty Sanchez. And it's, because the great thing about Dirty Sanchez is he's not under the mask. People have picked up on who, nobody's stupid.
Right.
So but the whole thing is Dirty Sanchez is just a whole nother level of like, oh, we need somebody.
Right.
And so, but then at the same time, I've always liked it because I feel like people are also sitting there and they're like, but why is Eric playing Dirty Sanchez?
Right.
And it's like, but why is Matt Dirty Sanchez? So it's always like this question of like, well, what is Dirty Sanchez?
Yeah.
So I've always kind of had it in the back of my head up until, the closing of EWF that Dirty Sanchez was going to come out as this, it was going to be some secret plan all along that Dirty Sanchez was trying to get to, like, Eric couldn't get to the top, so he donned the mask of Dirty Sanchez, but the mask is cursed or something. And Dirty Sanchez was always that just sort of like ridiculousness, but we were never able to get him as ridiculous as we wanted.
Well, let's not forget there was that one time where Eric came out, like the music was playing, and then all of a sudden he went to go out and his foot got caught.
Yes.
And then like he almost tripped and
that
everything.
Was it. Yep, that was
and
at
then
my
we were
house.
just like, that's it, it's golden. You got to do that every time.
And then he faked the stumble every single time.
Yeah.
But see, then when we transferred here and we had the hill, you and I kept trying to get him to stumble down the hill.
Tried so hard.
And he'd stumble out the curb, but he wouldn't roll. And I'm like, my guy, you'll get thrown. You'll get thrown. You'll get whacked in the face. You won't roll down a hill.
Yeah.
Like, it never made sense to me. But no, Dirty Sanchez was always that one of those things that, like, we never took him seriously, but he was always he always got the most random things.
Right.
Like he had matches against Wega, he had matches against me, but then there was that match where I defended the title against Dirty Sanchez, and it's like, well, why? And it's like, well, and I think it's because it was the build-up to you and me, the first meeting of you and me.
I think so, yeah.
And we're like, oh shit, we have nobody else for me to face before this match.
Yeah,
and it was like Sanchez. I'm like, why not?
Let's do it. Yeah, I think that was the
just
Dyson domination one.
Yeah, that was the build-up to Dyson, and that ended up being like Sanchez came out and he's like, oh no, we're like, no, this is actually, he's going to be good. Like, what? And so that was entertaining. We had a lot of fun with Dirty Sanchez.
Yeah. And it's funny because then like afterwards, everybody was all just like, did Eric know what Dirty Sanchez actually meant that whole entire time?
I actually didn't think I think he didn't know, actually.
There was a lot of people that didn't know. They just looked at it as just another
great,
goofy character.
Because if I could find the footage of TWF, whenever Matt portraying Dirty Sanchez would come out, he would come out and go, "Olé!" across the, and so like that was the point, like we knew. And so then like, but no, I remember explaining to Eric once
what it was,
what a Dirty Sanchez was, and I think it was before one of the shows too, because I was like, oh no, we need Dirty Sanchez today. And somebody had laughed about it, probably somebody who was there as a fan that day, and I had to explain to him what a Dirty Sanchez was. And he's just like, what? Oh my god.
So what was the point that really made you make that decision that you're no longer going to just be a fan and watch it, you want to actually create something?
I had started wrestling with my friends, 13, 14 years old. in like on mattresses in the basement and then trampoline in the backyard. And then I'm just like, I like doing this. I like making something.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of that whole idea of like, you know what, I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna try to book a show, and I'm gonna try to run a show, and I'm gonna try to make this make sense, because I wanted something that I guess I was hoping something I could look back on and just like watch. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, but it's all on VHS tapes somewhere. And so like, but it really was just one of those things where it was like, it just kind of happened, I guess, in a way, because it had started out with we were just wrestling,
Right.
like, and it would start off where like we were pretending to be other people, like,
Right.
I'm Triple H, and
Yep.
and I'm Chris Jericho, I'm Chris Benoit, I'm Eddie Guerrero, and
Yeah.
and so, but then it got into the whole thing of like, oh well, if Paul Levesque can be Triple H, Michael can be Iron Man. And so that was the first incarnation of Owen Devine. I was Iron Man.
Wow. Okay.
And
All right.
so it was, oh God, it was my friend. My friend was Bobcat, was his name. And he came out to Sable's music, actually.
Really?
Which was funny because he didn't watch wrestling the way that I did. So he didn't know that was Sable.
Really?
Okay.
And so then when he found out it was Sable's music, he's like, what? But so we had, it was Owen Devine and Bobcat for the longest time. It was just the two of us. And so it was the two of us putting on full shows. So
And then,
the two of us like, oh, it's Iron Man and Bobcat in a 2 out of 3 falls. It's Iron Man and Bobcat in a hardcore match. It's Iron Man and Bobcat, because we didn't know, like, oh, we could do one other person. So it started, right? So it started out as Iron Man, and then I think I got tired of being Iron Man. I just got tired of just being Iron Man. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do Ryan Faltisco, which is my mother's maiden name, Faltisco.
Okay.
All right.
And then I'm just like, I don't know if I like that. It's a long name. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Right.
And so then I started, all these other characters. I mean, I was Jordan Main, who I was our Australian commentator for the EWF was Jordan Main. And then briefly I had Ricky Moore, which I had gotten the name from Shannon Moore.
Nice. Very good.
And then eventually, I can't remember exactly when it was. I imagine it was probably like, God, I'm thinking 2009-ish maybe. I'd gotten back into TNA, and I don't even know if you remember the Team 3D. They had Johnny Devine, the X Division traitor.
Yes.
And so I got really interested in the character of Johnny Devine, because Johnny Devine had previously been with Raven in Serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he had turned on that, and then he was, now he's with Team 3D, and he's taking out everybody else, and he's like, going for the big dogs and all this other stuff. And again, he was another one of those guys who was a smaller guy, but he was able to get in the ring with the bigger people.
Right.
And so that's Owen Devine got his surname from Johnny Devine.
Okay.
And the first name from Owen Hart.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that is where Owen Devine comes from. We got Owen from Owen Hart and Devine from Johnny Devine. And it was Owen again for the same reason. He's that smaller guy who may never have been the guy, but was always near the guy.
Right.
And he was always in the matches with the guy.
Right.
And, he wrestled WrestleMania 10 against Brett.
Yeah.
And he was always that guy who was like, I'm good, and I'm just as good as him, and I know it. I just can't get there yet. And so it was that's where a lot of that,
Yeah.
it was a lot of it was always those small guys. And so it was always evolving through that. And slowly building to, the douchebag that everybody knows, hates, and loves.
Yeah.
It's crazy how everything, because like everybody that kind of gets into it, it's like I said, everybody gets it from somewhere. Everybody will gather pieces from different wrestlers and all this and that, whatever, including our favorites and everything. And then when it comes down to making that decision of, okay, I'm not going to no longer just wrestle, I'm going to start up a company and this and that, whatever. Now you're not only are you still connected with that wrestler side, now you got to go into the fan side. So you got to reconnect as a fan kind of deal.
Yep.
And then through that whole entire process, everything just slowly starts evolving. And the next thing you know, okay, this company, okay, was all right, but we need to tweak this, we need to tweak that, make it a little bit better. And then with all those changes, well, this name really doesn't fit no more, so let's go with this one.
Yeah.
And then little by little, it just keeps on evolving until the Elite Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, until we came
onto the
Wrestling
scene.
Federation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Came onto the scene.
Because we had started the EWF right before you guys came in. Is we had started going by the name the EWF. Because I think one of the last shows that I had done before you guys came around was me, it was Nelson, and there was somebody else, I can't remember who. It might have been Reggie.
Okay.
And if I remember, I was North American champion. I believe Nelson was our world champion, and Reggie was our submission champion. And so, I had a match with Reggie, winner takes all. And so I ended up with both those belts. And then Tony, or Nelson, Tony, whatever, last second goes, let's put all 3 titles on the line. So after doing a match with Reggie, we're sitting there, and I remember it because we had fans in attendance, we had people there.
Yeah.
And we ended up dipping into a tent that was in the backyard because we had slept outside in a tent or something, and we're like, all right, so what are we gonna do? Do this, we're planning this out in a tent. And they were just like, all right, hold on 1 second. And so it's the 3 of us trying to run a show. And then we're like, all right, we got this. So we're doing this and we're doing that. And I remember playing Tony playing my music, and then Reggie playing Tony's music, and then he turns his music on, and while he's doing his entrance, I run to the back to shut his music off so I can run back out. And then I'm sitting there and I have 3 belts. I'm like, well, what am I doing with this? Here, take that belt. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Because at this point we had gotten down to 3 people, and I'm just like, oh crap, this isn't gonna work. I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's just not gonna work. And then I had met you, and I don't even remember how exactly we had gotten into the whole conversation of wrestling.
It was a tattoo.
It was, yes.
Because I know I was coming to you to get tattoos done.
Yep. And then somewhere along the lines, there was a conversation. Something popped up about wrestling, and it just started to grow from there. You were talking about your knowledge. I was talking about my knowledge. We were talking about wrestlers that we liked and why we liked them and stuff like that. And then you start talking about how you started to go from just watching it to actually start doing it with your friends. And I was just like, yeah, I did it also with my cousins and their friends and everything. And then, I just been away from it for so long because I think a lot of people get to a certain point where it just kind of gets stale. It gets played out. There's no more creativity. Nothing's really fun anymore. So you kind of wean away from it. And I was slowly getting back into the whole wrestling scene kind of a deal. So then when you were talking about the EWF and everything, it was just, hey, just let me know, and then I can figure something out. Maybe I can swing on by and check it out. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then because I think Austin was still in school.
Yeah.
So and Austin would handle some of the paperwork, from the clients, and he would trace things out for me and stuff like that. So I think he was just getting home. And then that's when you left. I bumped into him, and I was like, hey, bud, how do you feel about getting into wrestling? And he was just like, what?
Exactly that. And I was like, isn't wrestling where those guys in tights go in a ring and beat each other up?
so then I was just like, listen, Mike was just here, and we're sitting here, we're talking, and he has a wrestling company and everything. And I was just like, listen, I'll show you. I'll teach you some of the basics and everything. But when we get there, if you're down for it, we can learn more, kind of a deal. And it'll be fun. And then it came down to Mama Bear.
Yep.
And it was like, hey babe, I got Austin here, and Mike was here, and he has a wrestling company, and we kind of want to try it out, see what it is. And absolutely not. That is not happening. My son is not getting involved in that stuff. That is violent and this and that, whatever. I don't want him getting hurt. That's
Yeah, I
my baby
remember
boy
that,
and all
yeah.
this and that. And I was like, listen, he'll be perfectly fine. Like, he'll be okay. So then we went and we checked it out. And then it was just like, oh, cool. This is actually pretty fun kind of video.
Yeah, once I learned it was on trampoline, I fucking love trampolines. I was like,
that was the deal.
He's
That
like, oh,
sealed
trampoline.
it, right? Trampoline. Let's go. I love trampolines. We're doing it. Okay, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's how it was. It was just two wrestling fans talking about how they got into it, what they liked about it, and everything. And then pretty much finding out that both sides did it. One was doing it, and then the other one kind of was away from it for a while, just trying to get back into it, and bam, boom. The next thing
because
you
I
know,
think Eric, Matt, and I had decided that we were going to try to pull it back, and that was when I was like, oh, we're going to try, but 3 people, and then we just slowly.
That was
like, you know what, I'll come in and we'll do this, and I'm like, all right, and cool, and then you're like, oh, hey, Austin's going to do it. I'm like, all right, sweet, and then.
Then you got Tori to record.
And then I got pancakes.
Pancakes, yes.
That was
pancakes. Everything. Pancakes, okay.
Yep.
And then Derek, surprise.
I was going to bring him up.
I met him through when I was working overnights at a gas station. I met him there because I had known his girlfriend. I knew her from school. So I met him through there, and then at that point we had 6 people, and I'm like, all right, let's try it. So like and then I guess the rest is history.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I was gonna say because afterwards we got John as Wyatt, then we got Reggie. There was the one guy who I faced as Buddy for the tag titles. I forgot.
That was the one where Buddy had a heart attack.
That's right.
Buddy wasn't supposed to get the tag belts or something like that because they were hung up on the pole.
Well, and it's because it was you against my personal security. Owen's security.
Yes.
But it was the second guy to play my security.
Yes.
Because Frank had left.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I don't think I had security for like a week or 2 or like 2 shows. And then he came back and he was like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll wrestle again because I had wrestled with him when I was younger, too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like slowly everything people started falling back into the fold.
Yep.
And then it was like, oh, all right, well, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can kind of try to drag this out of the ashes, so to speak, and get something going. And at that point, we had, you, me, both 3 of us, and then we had John, and, we were building to that point where we had a stable enough roster to put on a show where, only 1 or 2 people was doing a double.
Right.
And we're, all right, we got this.
Yeah.
Do this.
I remember when we moved here because we were going to try and build the ring. We also got in Reaper and AJ too. Yeah. And afterwards we got Bill.
Yeah, because that was all near the end of EWF.
Yeah.
We got Reaper in, we got AJ Dozer.
Yeah. And then we created Death. Death was created.
Yeah. Death was created
over in EWF.
Yeah,
over your place.
With the Alliance.
Yeah. With that 2-minute match.
I remember that. It was like
late at night.
Yeah. It was dark. There was no light in the backyard. We're like, all right, who has lights on their phones?
This was the winter. This was the winter time zone where everything was getting dark super early.
Absolutely. And then it was just, we got to do this match, but Death has to be devastating. And it was just like, and then I think it was you were just like, that's it, a 2-minute match to say how it's going to go, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, let's do this. And then we went out and it was just like.
Well, because that was also like, our first 3 shows, after you guys came in, they were all the time that, if you watch the shows, the first match, it's the middle of the day, it's bright and sunny.
Yes.
The second match is later in the day and it's cloudy and disgusting. And the third match is early in the day and it's bright and sunny.
Yeah.
And it's because we were filming things so out of order.
Because we needed one guy to rest up for the next match, and then we got these 2 guys coming up afterwards. This is all over the place.
Or I'd go to edit and I'd be like, hey, Tom, we didn't film this.
Yeah, that's
oh, shit.
I remember that. Oh, man, we got to get back. We got to go back next weekend. We got to film this. We got to film that. Wait, the weather's totally different, though.
Yeah. And then we filmed a whole other bunch of shit. Go to edit the next show. Hey, Tom, guess what we Not to film.
And the thing is, we had a list too. I remember
Yeah.
you sat
Yeah.
down, had a list of everything
List
we
of
needed.
everything.
And I actually think that's why the death one was so late. It was something that we had actually ended up having to put off like twice.
Yeah, we did.
And then we were like at the end of the day, I'm like, crap, we just got to film this.
Yeah,
I think I was
like-
really looking for the right mask for you too.
it was looking for
years.
the right one because some of them like they looked cool, but they were so flimsy that it was just gonna fly off. Like,
Yeah.
like the moment that a guy hit, kind of a deal.
like Buddy's beard.
Buddy's beer.
and then like being able to utilize it while you're wrestling, guys, you got to be able to see what you're doing.
Yep.
You know, and it has to stay on there. And then just in case you actually get connected, you got to make sure that it's not going to cut your face.
You also need to be able to communicate
Yeah,
and like
absolutely.
and not get suplexed in that. Whoo! Like,
Yeah,
exactly.
the mask flying off.
Exactly. Speaking of connecting, do you remember the 30-foot super kick?
All right, no, see,
you mean the super kick across the world?
Across the world, across
See?
the world, the 30. Yeah, that was unbelievable.
but the fear of hurting was so bad.
How about we explain to everybody about this kick
All right,
before
all right.
we continue talking
All right,
about it?
so
All right.
so one of the rules came down for Jim or Austin to really start wrestling was that he had to be perfectly safe and and made sure nothing happened. So
I was Guardian.
Guardian,
This
yes,
was before
yes.
Jim Connors.
Was
and
that
all.
the build up to Owen versus Cody Rex?
I know. This kick here was actually at Halloween Havoc when me and Eric were wrestling for the North American. You came out. He came out. Because I remember specifically, you kicked Eric. He went down. I was like, whoa, what the heck's happening here? And I turned. You're right there.
Whew!
I took the kick, hit the trampoline, went down, but from the camera angle, it was
so bad.
It looks like you like boom right into my face.
the
But
way that
on the other side, it was.
so then I remember I think one of the girls filmed, and then the way that they filmed it,
Mhm.
like it truly showed how far away. I mean, it was just like, hey, Austin, you ready? Here it comes. It's like kind of a deal,
Yeah.
But the way that it was shot, the way that it was filmed, it looked like it just solidly connected and everything. And I remember you sent me the video because we were just like, we're going to show you, and you were just like, do not.
Yeah, you were like,
So
don't.
no, it's going to be great. So then sure enough, it was like that day or like 2 days later, or whatever it was, sat Julie down, and I was just like, Austin had a good match or whatever, and
Yeah, check it out.
and then like he was all just like, oh my jaw, and I can't remember what she was doing, but she stopped. She goes, what happened?
Yeah.
But listen, he's fine, he's okay. Oh, I don't know,
Yeah,
jaw.
all right.
So then we showed her the footage of the one that really looked like
Mhm.
you connected, and she was just like, Thomas, I told you to be, and he's laughing hysterically. So then finally we pulled out the footage that the girls took, and then you can clearly see how far away you really were. And then she was just like, y'all gonna give me a heart attack.
Yeah.
But see, then we have the exact opposite. The first time you and I wrestled, I
Oh
pierced your lip.
man,
Yeah,
yes,
you
that's
actually
super
got
good.
him.
See, you stepped into that.
The sun was in my eyes.
It was cloudy that day.
That super kick was just dead right on the money. And then like in that match, like as soon as that hit, I went down. It was bang, I was down.
Yo,
Like I didn't get knocked out, but I like pierced my lip because of
It was
the
your
tooth
tooth?
and everything.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, that connected. Like that was crazy. That was crazy. And then like you had you choke slamming, Eric Richards off the trampoline on
Oh,
that little
God.
board with tacks.
and then
Oh,
they
that-
went for
yeah.
like another 5 minutes with
Yeah.
Eric barely able to breathe. Like
Yeah, I
he
was gonna
walked.
say he had that tack right in his one of the nerves. that
right
stopped
right
him
in
from
like the
breathing.
sciatic nerve he was stuck in.
And
Yeah.
then you if you watch that, once he gets up from the table, like he comes up and he's just like,
Yeah.
and but he
Mhm.
continued. Like
yeah,
I'm
gotta
like,
give it to him.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even just like a quick little, all right, we're done. It was like there was still another
Yeah.
5 minutes left to that match.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting there and I remember sitting in the back and watching him and I'm like, oh my god, no, please no. Like,
yeah.
I remember we were there and we were just like, oh my God, is he all right? Is he okay, and everything. And then we're all just like, well, did he breathe out? Did he not breathe at all? Is he alive? Okay, he's moving.
Yeah, he's
maybe,
moving.
Maybe
he's talking.
Maybe that's just nerves. Maybe he really is dead. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on. So then finally,
Like a
he goes
chicken.
on over. And then, like, finally, they go ahead and they finish up the match. And I remember the moment that he walked through, he just
collapsed.
dropped.
Yo,
And then we lift up the shirt a little bit, and then we're pulling out the tacks, and there was that one. And then as soon as we pulled out that one, he was like, I can feel my legs.
Yeah, he
I
was
can
like,
feel my legs.
He was like, I regained the ability to breathe, move, and talk. Like after taking out that spot. It's like the
Oh
Avatar
my
state
God.
right when they got him in the back.
and that was Last Man Standing, wasn't it?
I
I think it was Last Man Standing.
Yeah,
with
it
the time
was.
limit.
It was a time limit because right when it got to 9, I was on the ground. Right, it got to 9, he was like, "Fuck!" The last word he was able to say, he was falling. 10, they counted it, and he was
Yo.
like, he won.
I know, like the second the bell rang, he collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, oh God, thank you. But oh my God. And see what's bad though, and I did the best I could to fix it. But what's so bad is because of the way that we recorded, because of pancakes and everything.
Yeah.
But we had the timer on the screen. Do you remember that?
Yes,
we had the
yes,
timer on
yes,
the
you
TV
had
in
the
the
timer.
background.
Yeah.
But it doesn't match up with the timer on the video.
Yes.
It's off by like 5 seconds. And I couldn't fix it. Oh, it was so bad because
Don't need to fix it. It's what our imagination wants.
I'm
Hey,
sitting there like,
absolutely.
but see, if I fix the timer to match the video, then that's wrong. But if I get it to match that, then there's like a gap where there's no timer. But no, I mean that honestly, that match was really good. Because it was really one of those first ones with the two of you
Mm-hmm.
where I think, from sort of a booking standpoint, you and I were able to say, you know what, they can keep doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they can just keep beating the crap out of each
Yeah.
other. Because that was like already the third time they had faced each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were already on like, they hadn't repeated.
Yeah.
They had like, all of their matches were so distinctly different.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it was after that one where you and I were like, nah, this is going to keep going.
Yeah.
Like this is, and that was the problem is you and I spent so much time trying to get all these other storylines, and it's like a week before Dyson, and we're like, oh wait, hold on a second,
we got to slow down here. We
haven't even built us yet.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then but even then with the promos, even that package you made between the
Yes.
two of you, it was really good though.
Yeah.
Well, that's because we had enough interactions with each other up to that point that were important,
Yeah.
but had kind of like just been, we had stuck them in the back.
Yeah.
And then we're just like, you know what, this is going to be our main story. This is what we're going to go with. And then it's just, in like the last, I think it was like the last upload before Dyson, when we did the contract signing.
Oh my God, I remember that.
That was like that big, like that last breaking point where you and I were just like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then like right then you knew, oh, that's the main event.
Yeah.
And because it was like up to the contract signing and we had barely done any build.
Yeah. A lot of history. A lot of history.
Like
there.
because like it was just so much stuff that just kept popping up while we were doing it.
Yeah.
And it's because we crammed so much stuff
Mhm.
into such a short amount of time.
We really did.
That I remember
Because
too.
we
we crammed a
crammed
lot.
because you guys first came around in like October.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of October, the end of September, something like
Yeah.
that with Halloween Havoc.
I think it was September because like I know Halloween Havoc was like the Halloween show, but we were able to continue going.
Yeah, because I
through.
know we did it before Halloween
Yeah,
because we
yeah.
kept going up until like the first snowfall. And
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
like, no.
yeah.
I think there's actually a match on one of those early shows where it's snowing.
I think it was like February. I think it might have been like one of the February.
It could have been one of the
shows or
February
something
ones.
that.
Yeah, like the Valentine's tree.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like there was some snow on the ground and everything.
Yeah, like there's
That
snow,
was
and you can see it on the trees in the background. Like we're showing up bundled up in jackets and
Mhm.
like blankets, and
Yeah,
but we
Oh, I hate
crammed
it.
so much into those few months
We did.
that
Yeah.
we really like were able to get going in
Yeah.
the next season.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to be like, no, let's just pick up the ball and just
Keep
keep
going.
going.
yeah.
Keep going.
I remember that day with like because I remember I had to wrestle a buddy and I only had the
He
fucking
had the
overalls
overall. He
and the
had no
beard.
shirt or anything.
I didn't have a
Oh my
shirt
God,
on.
yeah.
I didn't have a shirt on at the time, and I was like, man, it's so cold, man.
Buddy, God, that was, I know that wasn't Halloween Havoc. We didn't have
No.
Buddy for Halloween Havoc.
No.
I think for Halloween Havoc, you both just had
our one.
Your
wrestler
one.
we
Our main character.
I think we all pretty much just had one, except maybe Eric. We always kind of made Eric work a little harder than everybody else.
Yeah.
But
Like he put the stage together. You would get the set up.
But I mean, at the same time, it was all... Everything was always done. You know,
Yeah.
we'd always have everything... As chaotic as we got everything, I don't think there was ever a time where, like, by the time that, by the time EWF ended, where it was like, oh, we didn't wrap this up. We didn't wrap this up. This
Yeah.
story wasn't explained. Like, everything by the end was at least, if not nicely packaged, crammed
Right.
into a box and packaged. Like, we wrapped everything up, you know, as far as our narratives in there went.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of conversations about Halloween Havoc, so
I
I
know.
think
I think, you know, Mike, how would you feel about being on another episode here? But
can
you know,
call
we
it-
could talk about.
we can call it Episode 3, Owen Devine 2.0.
Yeah.
Oh, Devine
And-
2.0.
And we're just gonna watch Halloween Havoc and see how much of a difference.
I
we
mean,
see
that's
each
really
other
where
there.
everything started, though.
You know?
I mean, that's
Yeah.
really where, like, you know, as poetic and maybe grandiose as it may sound, that's where the fall of EWF started and the rise of UWF started, and
Yeah,
everything sort of started at that point, because that was, you know, your first event, and that was your first event back,
Yeah.
and that was sort of the build of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
still kind of pull out every once in a while.
Oh yeah, me too. Sometimes a lot of we just pulled it out. So I think that's what we're gonna do next time. We're just gonna sit down. We're gonna watch Halloween Havoc and go through those memories again.
Introduce
Like we did
everybody
here.
back to Halloween Havoc.
Pretty much where it all began and started.
Where it
So-
all begins.
So yeah. So usually I like the end here. I usually plug in our channel. You know, check out the UWF and you check out the UWF, subscribe to it, and check out our actual storyline that's happening right now. You know, we'll be continuing next year into 2021, and I'm going to be talking about that there. Is there anything you guys want to plug in for, like, you know, our fans to check out?
All I have to say as Owen Devine is get ready for 2021, because it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good year.
All right. And then, how about you?
I'm dreading Halloween Havoc.
You're dreading Halloween Havoc? Well, guess what?
We'll get to make fun of
We'll get
ourselves.
to make fun of ourselves. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So you heard it, folks. Owen Devine is ready for next year. All those who are here in the UWF better be ready. All right. Well, check you out next time on Flashpoint.